I move amendment number 1, circulated in my name, and table the explanatory notes to my amendments and statement of compatibility with human rights.
The question is, are you wishing to speak to it?
I do wish
member?
to speak to this, sorry, Mr Speaker. We have 2 amendments, but they are complementary, but I do wish to speak to this, and it is concerning the independence of the Auditor-General. And while there are other measures in the legislation that we welcome to strengthen the independence of the Auditor-General as an independent officer of the Parliament, there is a recommendation of Cognate that hasn't been adopted by the government, and that's to truly give an independent means for the Auditor-General to set their own fees. It was interesting to read the Queensland Audit Office Auditor-General's submission to this legislation, where he remarked about the current arrangement where there is a requirement for the Treasurer to approve the Auditor-General's basic fee rate, and he says this is unique. And we acknowledge that there is an amendment the government is making to the legislation, but it would still require a parliamentary committee to approve and take the advice of the Treasurer. And we believe that this is a backdoor way for the Treasurer not to get his fingers or her fingers, whoever has that role in the future, off the Auditor-General's independence and ability to set their audit fees. This first amendment that we're putting forward is still to ensure that those audit fees have to be reasonable. And as the Auditor-General has outlined in his submission, there are a number of measures that he takes into consideration when setting audit fees. But for this government to not lock, stock and barrel adopt the Cognate report the way that they said they would is very disappointing. And we want to ensure that the Cognate recommendation to give the Auditor-General the independence to set their own rate is adhered to, and that what the government is proposing by putting it to a committee that must take it or can take the advice of the Treasurer is in fact a backdoor way where Labor members who dominate these committees are able to take that advice and still implement the will of the government, but in the shadows, behind and out of scrutiny.
Order.
It's far more important that we have this independent role respected, with the tools to be independent and not shackled by covert means where Labor members can in fact exert the will of the government by using their powers within the parliamentary committee. So we will be endorsing the Cognate recommendation to truly allow the Auditor-General to set their own fees, to enable them to really act as an independent officer of the Parliament. And so I seek the House's support of this amendment.